we would be remiss if we didn't get into some futures roll content because it is that week. If you haven't rolled your small exchange futures, you could probably do so today, tomorrow, even Thursday. Friday's cutting it a little bit close, but it is roll week for September futures into October futures. All of those U's need to become V's. U and V, probably the two most similar looking alphabet letters in existence in our I guess the alphabet that we use there. But that's I don't need to go down that vein there.
Would you say do you have a V more so than V and W? I don't think you would. Volkswagen would have something to say to you about that.
But isn't that funny that it's W? So like it should theoretically be U and W look the same, but the W, it looks like two V's now. This is what I didn't want to get into the theory of alphabet letters. I know it's gonna get us sidetracked real quick. We are talking about trading the futures roll. And this is, Jermal, a very simple thing most of the time, but I do want to cover the simple aspects of it today and then open it up for our next segment later this week that might get a little bit more creative on actually trading and strategizing around the futures roll. But today, for all intents and purposes, let's cover the simple stuff because rolling futures, very similar to rolling options. There's monthly expiration and you just need to extend the expiration. It's pretty simple process, right?
Yeah. And I guess, that's the main thing where we start with, right? Like this idea is about moving your position forward, allowing your position to still be in play. So that's the main thing we're talking about. I mean, we know, one of the great things about smalls is that, and I'm probably getting a little bit ahead, they do expire into cash, but this idea we're talking about with rolling is just keeping your position on, still keeping it in play and allowing it to move ahead. So as we have here in the graph, these are the different expiration dates for the S420 futures over the last, couple of months. And again, these are not, just so people understand, these arrows are not like where to buy and sell. These are just, boom, this is where expiration was for Feb. Boom, this is where expiration was for March, et cetera. And so to be able to, a lot of times you do want to keep that position on. I mean, we don't have, this is not like stock, as we know, this is future situation. So it's not like you just buy, you can just buy one future and hold it forever. Eventually it expires. And so this allows us to keep our position on.
And I'm glad that you brought up, just like kind of as an aside, like these aren't arrows for like buying and selling because it's not even that complex. It's expiration and rolling is simply like you bought or sold something in the past and now you just want that trade to continue. You want to continue to, be able to be long S420, long all these pot stocks for a fraction of the price with MJ or the actual stock prices. So you're using the futures. You want that long exposure to continue. All you do is roll it forward. Now, how do you roll it forward and extend duration? Well, if I sold a call or I sold a strangle or, I bought a put option, whatever in the options, and I wanted to roll it forward, well, all I would do is cover that position in this expiration and then commit the same position to the next expiration. It's the same in futures here. In my mind, it's even simpler. Like if I'm long the future, then I need to sell what I currently have and just buy the new contract. If I'm short, it's vice versa. And most platforms make this pretty easy.
Do you make a big deal between cover and bust? Do you know what I'm talking about? Like a position?
Bust.
So when I first came into the business, they used to make a big deal about that. They used to get on us TAs about, whether you knew that, understood it, the concept. It's really not a huge deal. But the idea of covering something is something that you're already short and you're covering that short. The idea of long, you're busting out of your long and that kind of thing. So that's why I ask.
No, I have not thought about it in terms of that lingo before.
So in the idea here, like say our long future, the idea would be we're covering our old contract and we're getting long the new contract. And then with the short future, we're busting out of our old long contract and we're selling our new contract. It's just terminology again.
No, I mean, this industry is ripe with very cool terminology. So I like, I remember the first time, I'll never, ever forget this. One of my buddies who I graduated from Michigan with in the math program, and he's way smarter than I am. And he went on he trades like exotic options I think he actually just went from Morgan Stanley to Goldman. So congrats to Spencer over there. But I'll never forget like our first month or so out of college in our real world jobs. And we were going back and forth about something. And I was like, oh yeah, don't hit the offer just yet. And he was like, oh, cringe, dude. We don't hit offers. We hit bids, dude. We hit bids and we lift offers. We don't hit offer. And so like stuff like that is always interesting to me. But yeah, this is all to say that like it's whether you got the lingo or you don't, it's very simple to roll your futures here. If you're long, you cover that thing or you bust it or whatever, and then you put the same position on in the next month, turning those U's to V's, September futures to October futures. And now I use the S420 as a good example of this because a lot of people use small cannabis to get that pot stock exposure because it is in theory about $1,000 worth of pot stocks that you only have to put up, I think about $200 to get long. And so a lot of people getting long this product that we created in the last couple of months here, waiting for the next pop in pot stocks because they've, as you can see, been declining. And so it's usually pretty simple. It's like, okay, I'm long S420 U21, September 2021. I need to sell that and then buy S420 V21, which is October 2021. And great, now I'm long pot stocks for that lower amount than MJ or the actual individual stock names themselves for the next 30 days. Great. But is there a trading strategy around this roll? And I think we're going to try to get into this a little bit later in the week, but I do want you to think about two things here before we get out of here for today that might inform where the strategy could be in trading the futures roll. These two things that I want us all to mull over, and maybe you can kind of give your insight into these two ideas as well, Jermal, here today, and we'll see where we land on Thursday. Futures are simply where supply meets demand on the expectation of prices on a future date. So, pot stocks, for instance, say that index is priced at $10. The index itself, which is, for all intents and purposes, the spot market, where prices are right now. Now, say you have October futures. Let's even make it simpler. Say you have December futures on that product. Now, the spot market, those pot stocks are at $10. The December futures...
Spot market not tradable, just so people understand. Spot market, not tradable. Futures are tradable.
Exactly. The futures on those pot stocks for December, say they're trading at $10.25. Okay, so what would that tell you, Jermal, about the expectation for pot stock prices between now and December? And also, what could you probably infer about the number of people who, in open interest terms, are long versus the number of people who are short out there, or the supply versus the demand, given that the market today's at 10 and the futures for a few months down the line are at 10.25?
Yeah, that would give me the idea that the expectation is that pot stocks are going to be at least a little bit higher come December. And you probably, I'm thinking, you said open interest, I'm thinking options. But the idea is, I think you would imagine there's a lot of people who are long, probably more people who are long than short pot stocks.
That's exactly right. Like it's the same as skew and options, right? Where it's just like, a lot of people like to think like, oh, put skew. It's this idea that's like big and it exists in stocks. And I need to memorize where put skew exists and memorize where call skew exists. And it's like, no, just like think about it in terms of, is there greater demand for calls or puts? Oh, like there's greater demand for calls in natural gas. Why is that? Well, because the risk is to the upside. That market rips. Okay. Oh, there's greater skew in the put side of equities. Why is that? Well, there's greater demand for puts because people want to insure themselves against stock market crashes. The stock market crashes lower. It doesn't rip higher like natural gas. It's the same idea here that we get into with like a spot market being at 10 and the futures on that market being at 10.25. That tells you that like most of the people out there who aren't market makers, most of the people who are, holding long-term positions are probably long. Whereas if, the spot market was at 10 and the futures were at 9.5, that'd mean there's a lot of shorts out there in the market. Now, the second thing I want us to focus on here moving forward while we're thinking about a potential strategy for trading the futures roll outside of just extending your duration is small futures settle to cash based on the index's value at expiration. So this Friday, we have an expiration of pot stock futures and a few other things. Now, if the index is at 10 and the futures for September expiration of this Friday are at $10.10, and on Friday, you're telling me that the futures are going to settle to the index's price, what do you think is going to happen in the short term here?
Well, there's going to be a convergence, right, of that future into the spot market. So therefore, I mean, I don't know if you want to call it a loss of 10 cents, but I mean, it converges into, say it finishes at 10 on Friday. That's where the future is going to finish.
Well,
Friday, exactly would it be Friday or Saturday morning?
It would be Friday at 3 p.m. Central. That is the final settlement time that they take that index value. And so we'll look into this deeper on Thursday, but I want people to start thinking about these two ideas because as Jermal already put it, it's like, oh man, would it be a loss? And I want people to just like put the numbers on the table here and think about like what it would be if I had no trade and I saw the market at 10.10, the index at 10 even, and it's Friday at 2 p.m., what would I do to potentially make money there? What is the opportunity in trading that futures roll? And we'll illuminate that further later in the week. Jermal, thanks as always for joining me. I've never seen that Tasty Trade Ambassador shirt. It is a pretty cool one.
You know what? You don't pay attention to me at all anymore. I mean, because I've actually worn this once. And from what I understand, the people were really interested. The people hadn't seen it. And you just, you don't pay attention.
I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry. You're totally right. And actually, I pulled the same crap earlier this week. I wore a shirt for the first time since it's a long sleeve shirt. So I haven't worn it in forever, obviously, because it's summertime. And my coworker and guy, Mikey G, was like, "Oh, that's a cool new shirt that you got." And I'm like, "I've had this for years, Mikey. Don't make me feel bad about this. Come on, you notice." He's like, "I don't look at your outfits every day. Why
Mikey
not?"
G, also known as codename Kenny Loggins, from what I understand.
Yeah, Mikey G.
I didn't come up with that. Somebody else did one time. I thought it was pretty funny. Yeah, what you got on here today?
I've got some cool outfits, man.
Bad Bunny? Okay.
My Bad Bunny. Yeah, my Bad Bunny.
Me and my wife always say like, Bad Bunny.
Did you see, you don't watch wrestling, right?
But I heard about this. I actually saw this from another show that he was on, The Shop. He was talking about how he trained for like 3 months. He moved to Orlando and trained 3 months to do wrestling.
I'm in the know. Right.
I'm in the know.
That's awesome, dude. Now, where do your kids? I'm guessing because I have my sister who's 17 and she's still kind of not hip to Bad Bunny, even though he's one of the most popular artists on the planet. I'm guessing it's Kanye, Drake, and then Bad Bunny.
Yeah, I don't even know if the kids pay attention to him. Yeah. I mean, I haven't heard them talk about him much, honestly. I think I first heard about him from the commercial. He was in a commercial with Snoop Dogg last year. That's the first time I started noticing him. And I think you're right, he is super popular. I mean, I think he had a McDonald's meal, maybe. I'm not sure. I'm not one. He had some Crocs. I mean, he's super popular.
Jay Balvin, who he's done work with in the past, had the McDonald's meal. But yeah, he does the Corona commercial. And now people, when you see that commercial where like Snoop's walking on the beach, Bad Bunny's one of the other dudes.
He is one of the other dudes.
Very very popular. He's got some good music. It's funny, in 2021, you just named to me like 5 different reference points for Bad Bunny that have nothing to do with music. And that's his common trait, is that he's a musician.
That's how it's going these days, my friend. I mean, there's this Burger King commercial out right now with somebody last night. We both saw it. We were like, who is that? Neither one of us knew. We asked my 17-year-old, who do you know this person? He's like, no. But that's one of these ways influencers are going, that's where we are. I am not awesome. You are an influencer. You are influencing people. You're influencing all of us with your knowledge of futures. That's what's happening.
Before we go out, very lovely words. Thank you so much. Before we go out, what is in 2021, if there's a Jermal Chandler X something else collaboration, what is it? It could be it could be food, it could be clothing, it could be any collaboration on the planet. Obviously, Ben and Jerry's, they've nailed this kind of thing. McDonald's getting into the space. You say Crocs is a big one. What's the Jamal Chandler collab?
I don't know. I'm not going to put it out there right now. Anybody, hey, look, whoever's listening, get at me. I mean, I'm willing to listen to offers. Anybody, I'm pretty wide open. I'm pretty chill, dude. Just get at me. Jamal Chandler, at Jamal Chandler on Twitter, holler at me about some ideas and, we can work on something out, put something together.
If the price is right, he'll go for, I like that. You're a businessman. Yeah. Whereas I would have sold myself out right there and just been like, oh, this one thing. And then anyone else who was willing to offer me money would be like, oh, well, he doesn't want to do it. And then that's because I don't have the business acumen that you have, but we must.
I'm an options guy. I'm keeping my options open. You know what I'm saying?
That should be your slogan for your new show. I'm an options guy, keeping his options open, which doesn't really make, because you're not single. So it doesn't, I don't know. It would be a good punchline for like a trading meets dating show, a trading dating show where the options trader is keeping his options open. All right.
We're like that. Yeah. You know what? We're way off track here.
Yeah.
Options rolling from U to V. That's what we're going to end it off with.
Awesome.
We're U to V. That coming on Thursday.
Love it, man. Yeah, we got more stuff coming on Thursday. Thanks as always, Jamal, for joining us here on The Leap. It's a fun time, but another fun time is about to be had. Splash into futures coming up next. Pete Momat, he's got some futures trades for you. Everybody hang around, and thanks for watching.